けどあれなんか違うかも千里の道が言ったから騎士のように硬いそうな父もつまらないままなでしこ進撃が癒し好きで
Everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And y'all, I came in today after having watched a lot of videos that were made in the last 24 hours. And a lot of these videos were made in response to what we watched yesterday morning concerning King Jives, that 4-hour rant that he went on, and then the fallout after the rant. But more than that, I wanted to talk about the disrespect of black women in general and what we as black women have come to expect when it comes to our men. As far as black women, do y'all realize that we are the only group of women? Think of all the other races and how their men treat them. We are the only group of women that in our music, our men routinely refer to us as bitches and whores. You do not see any other group of men make music, and in that music, they refer to the women as bitches and whores. I think what has happened is, as black women, we have forgotten to respect ourselves and to demand respect. Now, that is not all of us, because there are some women who are out there who do not stand for that. They do not allow it in their lives, and if it is there, they will walk away from it after cussing somebody out. Now, when I watched King Jives' video directed at VS, I will say this. I am not a supporter of VS, but I will defend her when it comes to what he spoke about her being molested. It was the most vile and disgusting display of a man against a woman. Forget the reasons why he made the video, because basically what VS said is true. That information about his family, basically all you have to do is Google his name, and report after report, news media reports, they're out there. She didn't have to dig. She was right. And also, VS did not put his information out. It was Sean Bradley and Tracy. And all of us who watched this play out from the beginning understand and know that that is true. But when he went on his rant yesterday, basically, first of all, y'all, I had to turn it off after a while. And here's why. In my life, I do not have men around me who are yelling and screaming and telling me to suck their male parts and calling me all kinds of B's and H's. I don't have that. So when he was on that rant, it was scary to me. It was scary. It had my heart beating, just, thumping in my chest, because the more he became amped up, the more emotional it made me. See, when you are a woman that does not have that type of male violence in your life, and that the men that are around you treat women with respect, when you hear a man yelling and screaming at another woman or speaking about another woman like that, it does something to you. It as I say, it made my heart beat crazily in my chest. And I said, you know what? I got to let this go, because this man is off the chain. But I think what has happened is we have got desensitized as black women to how we are treated. You have the media out there that labels us as angry black women. We are attitudey. We rolling our necks and, smacking our lips and all of that. And that's one narrative. But when you have black men doing it, see, I don't care what people outside my home say about me. But when the people inside of my home spin a narrative about me that's not true, that bothers me more. And that's what black men, I'm going to say some black men, because it's not all, are playing into. I even watched as this whole thing is playing out between Jay Wilson and Sean Bradley. And people are in Jay Wilson's chat telling him that, he's a coward. He should come back at Sean Bradley with all this venom and male testosterone and all of that. Y'all, when I was sitting there, I was saying to myself, and this might be because I am a little bit older and I'm used to dealing with more mature men. First of all, to me, Jay Wilson has a lot more class than Sean Bradley. To me, Jay Wilson represents, if he's gay or bisexual or whatever, he represents a more manly gay person than what Sean Bradley is. Also, Jay Wilson is a lot older than Sean Bradley. From what I'm understanding, Sean Bradley is in his late 30s, and Jay Wilson tells us routinely that he is 50 years old. So what happens when a man reaches 50? He has, you know, did all his kicking and scratching when he's younger. And as he starts to get older, he has learned to fight more verbally, and with his brain, than basically physically, cussing, screaming, yelling, spitting, and all of that. That shows a level of maturity. And that's what's going on with Jay Wilson. When he says that he is not bothered by Sean's venom towards him, y'all, I completely understand. Let me just explain why. I am 54 years old. And I work around a lot of younger women. And sometimes they do this thing where they try to age shame me or speak negatively of people that are my age. And I think they believe that that bothers me. It does not. I don't even get mad at them because I know that when I was their age, I thought as they did. But as I started getting older, I mellowed in that. So when they, say little negative things, or I don't feel any kind of way. I'm amused. I know that as time passes and they reach my age, they will see why it doesn't bother me. Because when you reach this age, you start to look at life a lot differently. You're calmer. You can step back and take emotion out of a situation and think it through. And that's what's going on with Jay Wilson. He's able to turn off his emotion because, like he says, this doesn't really have any impact on his life and who he is as a man. But getting back to the way that black women are treated, it is sad that we have come to a point where we not only allow our men to refer to us as bitches, but we refer to ourselves as bitches. So I guess what I want is for us as black women to think more of ourselves, to not allow that narrative to be spun about us. And when we see disrespect towards each other, to speak up. And that brings me back to what occurred yesterday with King Jives. After he made that 4+ hour video, I did what a lot of other people here on YouTube did. I watched other content creators' videos about what went down yesterday morning and how they felt about it. And within those videos, there were people who were outraged about how he talked about VS and, just the venom that he spewed towards her. And there were others who basically said he had every right. He was just upset, blah, blah, blah. Now, y'all, let me just say this. We all know what VS does. And from watching King Jives and You know, all that he displayed in that video yesterday, I suspect that he knew VS, because in the beginning he had her name in his video, in the title. Someone has been in his ear about how VS can run through these streets and wreak havoc and reign terror. So he knew what he was doing when he put her name in his video. He knew her, in other words, her reputation preceded her. He was poking a bear, and he knew that if he got on her, she would come back and it would be tit for tat, video after video, and he would make some money. So when I watched yesterday those videos that were done in the aftermath of everything, and people were saying that, he had every right to come back and blah, blah, blah. What I got from that is I was saying, okay, he may have had a right to come back. Let's give him that, if you want to think that way. But the way in which he came back, I could not condone that. Because that display that he put on yesterday, because to me, it was a display, it was a show, and it was for coins and recognition in this sector of YouTube. It was way over the top, It was way over the top. It was disrespectful. And a lot of us don't like VS. But what he did to her was so disrespectful to her as a woman. That's the part that I want to focus on. That part. It's one thing to clap back when you are in a beef with someone. But when it's a man and a woman, like I said, I'm not used to men speaking to women like that. So that clap back that he did was too much. He went way below the belt on information that was already out there in the atmosphere, on YouTube, on Facebook, in the media. Y'all, what happened with his mother was huge. That is why she's in jail for as long as she's going to be in jail. What I didn't like about what he did yesterday is here was a man who, self-proclaimed man of the cloth, going after a woman and calling her, the names that he did, blah, blah, blah. Y'all all watched it. You know what I'm talking about. That's the part that bothers me about some black men. I don't like this thing that they do to us as their women. And that's what I'm talking about. I want us as black women to respect ourselves more. And I want us to demand respect from the men in our community. They owe us that much. We stand beside them, because I'm not going to say behind. We stand beside them in this life, in this world, in everything. We are the women who give birth to their children. We are the women who birth them. They grow inside of our bodies, And then when they get older, they don't respect nor appreciate the contributions that we have made in their lives. That's the part that bothers me. So I watched a video today of Olivia the Oracle. Now, Olivia the Oracle can be controversial. There are some subjects that she speaks on that I'm in 100% agreement with her. And then there are others that I just can't get with. First of all, I'm her age. I'm going to have my opinion as well. And I believe that Olivia could appreciate that. But what I noticed when I listened to Olivia's videos is there's one common thread that she speaks on all the time. And it's the respect or disrespect or lack of respect for black women. And on that topic, I agree with her 100%. We have to stop allowing ourselves to be treated like that. We have to stop condoning men or supporting men who speak to us like that. I know a lot of you who are listening to my voice are supporters of Sean Bradley. Y'all, I used to like him. I used to watch his videos. But this thing that he does, constantly in women's business, constantly speaking on beefs between women that he's not even involved in, stirring the pot, calling us, referring to us as bitches and whores so easily. Those two words fly off his tongue so easily. Another word that he says that that I don't, I don't use in my everyday life is the N word. Y'all, I know that's another word that we refer to ourselves as. I don't do that. And when I was raising my kids, that was not a word that was spoken in our house. I did not make it where they thought that it was okay to, refer to their friends and, use it in everyday conversation. So my kids don't use that word because that word was used derogatorily against us when it came to white people. So I do not allow that word in my hemisphere. If you guys feel it's okay for you to refer to your friends and family as that, that's on you. I just don't do it, okay? So when I listened to his videos, in the past, I started to say, you know what? This man does not have respect for black women. I listened to him speak about his foster kids and the homes that they came from that put them in the foster care system. And he referred to their mothers as, yo, mammy didn't do this and yo, mammy didn't do that. And okay, we know that because those kids are in foster care, there had to be dysfunction in their home so badly that they needed to be removed from the home, and now they're in foster care. But y'all, one thing that bothered me about that is one day those kids that he had in his home may see the videos that he made and feel some kind of way about it, because it was through no fault of their own that they, ended up in foster care. They couldn't control what their parents were or were not doing in the raising of them. And you know how you are a mother that may be a single mother and your child's father is over someplace else. And when you're raising your child, there comes a time when you say to yourself, is it right for me to talk negatively about their father in front of them because it may form an opinion of their father that I'm giving them, instead of them being allowed to grow up, get to know their father, and see for themselves who they are or who they aren't. So when Sean Bradley does that, he puts it's almost like he's poisoning their mind. Rightly or wrongly, I don't think it should be done. I think that child should be allowed to grow up and form their own opinion of why they ended up in foster care. When you do that to a child, you damage them in some way. You make them feel like the people that they came from are not anything, so that means that they're not anything. If you keep drumming that in their head over and over again, your mammy ain't shit, your daddy ain't shit, your mammy ain't shit, your daddy ain't shit, it makes that child start to say, well, if my parents weren't shit, what does that say about me? So after watching Sean Bradley's videos for a period of time, I couldn't sit up and listen to the way he speaks to women and about women. I can't respect that, Y'all, see, I have a son that I raised, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm just speaking on these men just vicariously. When I was raising my son, y'all, I knew one day that he was going to be someone's husband, someone's father, and in our community out there, interacting with other people. So I did my best consciously to try to make him the best man that I could make him. I wanted him to be compassionate. I wanted him to respect, and not only respect women, but to cherish women. I wanted him to know the difference of she's not only a woman, but she's a lady. When I was raising my daughter, I used to tell her, you are a woman by gender, but the way you carry yourself makes you a lady. And because you are a lady, you should garner a certain level of respect. And I drummed that over and over and over in her head, that she's not just a woman, she's a lady. So when I look at some of these men disrespect women here on YouTube, it shows me that our men, well, some of our men, they have forgotten to cherish us and to understand that we, when you look in God's eyes, are supposed to be the weaker, more the not weaker, because a lot of women take offense to being called weak, and on that I use the wrong word, because I don't want to be thought of as weak. They used to refer to us as the fairer sex. Men have a certain strength, and we are the fairer of the two sexes. So let me just rephrase it that way. In God's eyes, we are woman. We are the fairer sex. And I think our men have forgotten how to treat us that way. And this is what you're seeing here on YouTube, out in the world, and it bothers me. It bothers me. And that's why I made a point, all while my son was growing up, to get him to understand that a woman should be cherished and treated in a certain manner. Open the door for her, pull her chair out, always be a gentleman to her, And I can honestly say that while he's not perfect, that part of the upbringing that I gave him is very, very evident when I watch him move in the world. Sometimes as a mom, you stand back and you look at your child and you say, hey, were all those lessons that I was teaching when he was growing up, were they in vain? And when you start to watch him move in the world, you realize that he was listening and he was learning. And the man that he is today, you helped shape. And that brings me back to Sean Bradley and King Jives. I don't know what happened when they were being raised, what went on behind the doors of their homes. We know the salacious things that are put out about them. Sean Bradley talks about, suing his mom, and we all know the King Jives' story. So I think when they were being raised, there was something broken when the women, the main woman in their lives, there was trouble with them. So I believe that it made them grow up and turn into men who don't respect women. That's the common thread between those two men. They do not respect women. It doesn't have anything, I believe, to do with their sexuality. I believe it has a whole bunch to do with who raised them and how they were raised. Because you can be a gay man and come from a very loving home and grow up to be well-rounded. A good example of that is James Colwell. James Colwell is a very thoughtful man. Before he, quote unquote, comes off his porch as he says, James Colwell takes the time to think through a situation and act accordingly. He, from what I can see, doesn't pop off out of emotion. You know, he does it after much thought and decision on whether it's even worthy of him to, get down in the mud and get to swinging. That's what I see with James Colwell. And what I also notice when you listen to James Colwell talk about his mother, while they've had their differences, you can hear a certain level of respect that James Colwell has for his mom. And as they, even though they've had their differences, I believe that respect that he has for her also extends to respect of women. You know, a young man or a man who has this a certain level of respect for his mom. They say that when you watch a young man or a man out in the world, watch how he treats his mother and the other women that are in his family, and that will tell you a lot about how he's going to treat you. Because a man that looks at his mom and he respects her, he's going to take some of that into relationships that he has with women out in the world. He can't help it because that is what shaped him into the man that he is. So when you watch these two men, Sean Bradley, King Jives, and some of these other men that we watch here on YouTube who routinely disrespect women, it makes you say, what was going on in their home when they were growing up that made them like they are today? And why do we as women, some of us, support and condone that behavior that is displayed against us? If they're hurt or they weren't raised right, we didn't do it. So why should we suffer the repercussions of what some other woman didn't provide them in their upbringing? I cannot sit here, and I will not sit here, I'm like Miss Olivia, and be disrespected by the men of our community. Y'all, when you get a certain age, you see things a lot clearer. You're not so much looking at this incident or that incident. You're looking at the bigger picture because you've lived a lot of life. You have a lot of life in the rear view mirror of who you are. You have more life behind you than you do in front of you. My mother always says that. More life behind you than you do in front of you. So you get to a point where you no longer accept bullshit. And that's what we see when we see these men disrespecting women. If you're a younger woman out there, if you're younger than 54, think more highly of yourself. You are a queen. I don't care if you're sitting on welfare, on Section 8, you don't have no job, you barely able to rub two pennies together. But if you are a decent woman and you are out here at least trying to do better and make better choices in your life, raising your kids correctly, whoever that man is in your life should be treating you with a certain level of respect, treating you as the fairer sex, treating you as a queen in his world. You should not be told to suck his male parts when he gets angry. You should not be called all kinds of B's and H's when he gets angry. There's a certain line in the sand that should not be crossed when it comes to a man and a woman. Violence towards us as their women, it's wrong, y'all. Don't condone that shit out here on YouTube. It's wrong. Stop making excuses for these men that do that. Look at yourself when you make that excuse for them. What does that say about you when you support Sean Bradley staying in women's shit? You know, some of these beefs that are out here on YouTube, he's not even involved in. He inserts himself into it. Then the narrative becomes about him. Why is he constantly in women's shit? Is there no sector on YouTube where he can go and battles with men? Why is he constantly fucking with women? Why does he find it so easy for bitch and hoe to roll off his tongue? Y'all, in real life, I would not deal with him. You know, the first time he called me a bitch, I wouldn't stand there and argue back and forth with him. I would dismiss him from my life. I do not deal with men who treat women like that. Something one of my uncles told me when I was a young woman, you know, he said, men only treat women the way the woman shows them how to treat them. So in other words, basically what my uncle was saying is, if you don't have no respect for yourself and you carry yourself like that, that's how a man is going to treat you. Why should he respect you if you don't respect yourself? And that's what I would like for women to start doing. I am 100% for sisterhood, uplifting each other, even so far as when it comes to our men. I am definitely not a basher of black men. I love black men. I even did a video one time about how much I love the men that have been in my life and how much I love black men in general. Because I know that the black man, a good black man, is the man who appreciates everything that I have to offer as a black woman. From my aesthetic, you know, my big butt, my juicy thighs, my nose, my hair. That's the man for me who makes me feel beautiful. I don't think that any other race of men could make me feel as beautiful as if a black man loves me and he's telling me how beautiful I am. I shine more when a black man thinks I'm beautiful. I feel sexier when a black man tells me that I'm sexy. There is nothing more appealing than a brother in love. Nothing more appealing. So I cannot turn my back on a good brother. You know, I cannot do that. I cannot talk negatively about the good brothers out here and lump them in with the likes of a Sean Bradley or a King Jives. Something in their upbringing is broken, and they carry that brokenness out into the world. The reason why I know that is because I have raised a son myself. This is not something that I'm just speaking on lightly, that I just want to jump on the bandwagon and make videos like everyone else out here is doing in the last 24 hours. I wanted us to stop and think critically about who we are as women. I want y'all to be proud of yourself and demand the respect that you deserve. Like I said, we stand with these men in daily battle. We gave birth to them. And for them to disrespect us the way in which they do routinely here on YouTube, it's something, y'all. It's something else. And we don't deserve it. We do not deserve this. And don't think that you deserve it. Don't support that type of behavior towards us as black women. Don't support that shit. I'm not even telling you not to, support the person. Don't support that behavior towards us as black women. We do not deserve that. Think about that for a moment. I'm just going to sit here myself for just a couple seconds and think about that. What have we done as black women to our black men for them to treat us the way that they do? For them to call us bitches and whores? What have we done to them? Y'all, sometimes when I'm thinking about this subject and I'm sitting and watching these videos here on YouTube, I get so disgusted with our people sometimes. When I see women who tell another man, like they were telling Jay Wilson, to go at Sean Bradley with, a little bit more testosterone, who tell Jay Wilson he's a punk when it comes to Sean Bradley. He don't want that smoke and all that. Do you know how ignorant that looks to me? Here's a thinking man, a thinking middle-aged man, who y'all are telling to act like a rabid animal, hollering and screaming shit, spit flying all over the fucking screen. You are telling him to come out of character and wallow down in the mud with another man, promoting almost violence, when this man is telling y'all that this is not how he operates, that this shit does not bother him, that he's mature and he sees this other man as pretty much a fool, because basically that's what Jay Wilson is saying. He's saying that he's amused by all this venom that Sean Bradley has for him. So for us to sit up there and keep goading Jay Wilson by calling him all these names, that he's a coward, y'all, I don't see him as a coward. I actually don't. I see him as a man who is sure of who he is in his manhood. So he doesn't feel that it's even worth him breaking a sweat over. That's what I see. I look at Sean Bradley losing control over there like King Jives did, as men who don't have control over their emotions, who haven't lived long enough to be able to display displeasure without going crazy, veins popping all out their heads. That shit, y'all, it doesn't move me. Matter of fact, actually, when I'm watching it, eventually I turn that shit off. I look at them as the weaker of the men. When you gotta scream and holler and spit flying all out your mouth and get so worked up that you damn near about to have a stroke, does that show a man that's strong? If you as a woman believe that for a man that's strength, something is wrong with you. You need to think about what in your upbringing makes you think of the two men, a man who is sitting there calmly and, he's showing that he's displeased with this other guy, this other fella, but he can talk it out without losing his shit, as opposed to another man who's on screen in a public forum losing his shit, looking all kinds of silly and bitch made. Because when Sean Bradley and King Jives did that, as a middle-aged woman myself, I was sitting there thinking, these are two bitch ass men. And in this instant, the word bitch is appropriate. You heard that, right? In this instance, the word bitch is appropriate. Because when you need, as a man, to stand and attack a woman, you're acting like a little bitch. Okay? Not a man, a little bitch. Y'all, I just want to end my video again by saying, you women out there, be proud of your blackness, your sister thing going on, your black girl thing going on. Be not only proud of it, but demand respect. You deserve it. You deserve it. Look around at all the good that black women do. Look around at how the world is against us, but we continue to stand, be strong, go out there and be productive members of society despite what society thinks of us or the narrative that they put out about us. We stand through all that shit. Be proud that even though the man that may be in your life or the men that are surrounding you refer to you as bitches and whores and really don't seem to show respect for you, that you're able to make it through all that and still survive out here and carry yourself like a queen. One thing that I think that they can't take from us, and it bothers certain individuals out there in society, is that very thing, the strength of a black woman. We have endured so much. You know, hell, back in slavery days, they may have beat the man, but they raped us. They violated our bodies. You know, we took beatings too, but they violated us. And even with that, here we are today. Strong, we're independent. Those words should not be something that are used against us. To be independent and strong, why is that a bad thing? To know who we are and carry ourselves like queens, and to be able to get someone told when they're not treating us that way, what is wrong with that? My son is proud of the woman that I am. My son is proud of his sister and her achievements. My son treats the women in his life like queens. My son recognizes that we are the fairer sex and that we should be treated a certain way. What I ask you women out there to do is make those men in your life treat you like that. Do not stand for disrespect of you, and know who you are as a queen. And with that, y'all, as always, thank you for watching my video, and you take care of yourselves out there. See you in the next video. Bye-bye now.